Scott Grayson, Scott Grayson's grades right now. Post it at 973ESPN.com. He's got locker room reaction on our website. You can go in and check out what some of the key Eagles had to say about this one. And I had seen a tweet from Derek Gunn from NBC Philly, Scott. He said in all his years, he's never seen the locker room clear out that fast. What was it like after that game in the locker room yesterday?
Yeah, I would say I've never quite seen the locker room like that in the 5 years I've been covering the team either. I mean, there were guys bolting out of there. It was, look, I've been coming on here and talking about a stunned locker room. This is probably the third time I've said that. And my sense yesterday was this was a stunned and angry locker room, frustrated.
Are they angry because they think they're not good enough? Are they angry because they don't think they're being, like, they don't like the game plan?
No, I would say they're angry. They're not finishing right now, and they're angry with. I think they're angry with themselves. I think there's a certain amount of them. They wouldn't say it out loud, but I think that a lot. I think the overwhelming sense yesterday was the coaching put them in the tank. They folded up their tent and said, "We're just going to run down the clock. We're gonna win this game, even if it's 17-14. We're going to win this game." And I think the players probably got a little frustrated that they weren't given the opportunity to continue dominating the Panthers the way they had for the first three quarters. Again, nobody's going to say that out loud. It's just a sense you kind of get. And this team's back is against the wall now, and they're back to where, I don't really buy what Doug Peterson's saying about them not having any pressure. I would say the pressure is greater. You have to perform now.
Yeah. I mean, is that Doug's way? Is that Doug's way of trying to take the underdog role back because we relish that role? Hey, nobody's giving you guys a chance anymore. Is that his way of trying to turn the narrative around?
I think that's where he's going. All of them talk about this being a different year than last year. I think he's trying to get there in a little bit of a different way. They've put themselves in that position now where everybody's looking at them going, well, maybe this team isn't going to win this division. I think this is a division that right now nobody's really staked a claim to. You could say Washington maybe, but who have they really played? They've got all played together, and Washington knocked off Dallas. Good for them. And the Eagles really have everything in front of them. So, the poll question you're asking is a good question. To me, there's still a lot of football left if they can get it fixed. If they lose in London, have to make the long flight back, and have a bye week that they don't get to recover from this, 2 straight losses, that's going to be a tough thing to come back from.
And keep this in mind real quick. I don't want to dive too much into that London game. Jacksonville's playing pretty poorly. They benched their quarterback. They got problems too. But one thing is, they've been to this London trip a couple of times. They know the routine. They know what's going on. This is the first time. I was talking to a guy who played in the league about this a little while ago, and he said, look, those routines, the ticket requests and everything, it's almost like they're going to, like a Super Bowl type of atmosphere where people are going to ask you for tickets, and Jacksonville has done this London trip a couple of times. This is Philly's first time there. So, hey, this is a really big week for both of these teams.
Absolutely, it is. And I think the biggest thing you're going to see from this Eagles team is, like I talked about, the anger. If they come out angry, Jacksonville very well might be the punching bag they needed to face. But if they come out and really press and don't adjust to the time zone well and the long trip and all that, it could be a very long day. And like I said, a very long trip home too.
All right, let's get a couple of your grades out there and get your explanations here. Right to the bottom of the list, F, Doug Peterson, Jim Schwartz. We've been going back and forth. Who gets more blame, offense, defense? I think they share blame. I tend to lean more to offense. 17 points just in today's NFL, it's not good enough.
Totally agree. And to be honest, I had Grayson's grades pretty well written going into the fourth quarter and had to drop a bomb on the entire thing. And
abort mission.
17-0 lead. Yeah, when you have a 17-0 lead, I put blame on both of them. I think the defense at that point needs to keep the opponent from scoring 17 points or more in one quarter, and you win the game. And you look at Doug Peterson's offense, even after Carolina scored the first touchdown, it's like, okay, let's just move the sticks a little bit here and flip the field, make them have to drive a long field again. And they didn't do that. They were content they were huddling up until late in the play clock. It was clear. You might as well just taken 2-3 knees and punted, that they didn't think they needed to move the ball at all. And when you change the way the game is on both those guys, Peterson and Schwartz, you've dominated a team for 3 quarters. Just keep dominating them and just walk off into the sunset. If they didn't do that, and I really hope that they both learned a lesson from this. What drives me nuts, though, with Schwartz is you look at the personnel here. These defensive backs are not good tacklers. That's where they miss Rob McLeod in a big way. They drop back on these third and fourth down situations. They line up even with the first down marker and think they'll go up and make the tackle. Well, how many times have they done that and been burned by a missed tackle and there's not a second guy there to fill in? They cannot keep doing that. When they get those situations, they got to keep doing what's working, in my opinion.
Scott, I want to stay on Doug Peterson for a second. Yesterday, is that an example of you just got to take the good with the bad? I mean, part of the reason why everyone loves, maybe used to love now, Doug Peterson is his aggressiveness. I mean, he runs a reverse pass to the wide receiver, throw it to his backup tight end in the Super Bowl. He's always aggressive going forward on fourth down. That's who he is. In the fourth quarter yesterday, he decides to throw it basically the whole time, and it backfires. But is that just who he is, or is it just too inexcusable, the ratio that he had or lack thereof yesterday?
I was okay with the game he called for three quarters. Like I said, I had an A for Doug Peterson going into the fourth quarter. I mean, everything was going right. They needed to get into the end zone more. You're right. When they get down to the red zone, they've got to cash in more, and I think that goes to all the guys on offense. But Peterson, to me, I mean, they were doing enough to dominate the Panthers, and they long drives, long sustained drives that scored. I liked the aggressive shot when they were behind down the field that drew the pass interference penalty. But the problem is at that point you had to restart the engine. You'd already shut it off and put it into idle mode. That's one thing you hear a lot from athletes is when things are going great, keep going, keep the pedal down, Don't take your foot off. And some guy said that yesterday, and that's admitted that's what they did as players. But I think it's because that's what was called, and that's how they played the game in the fourth quarter. So I was okay with Doug's play. I liked the misdirection. I liked the way he went for it on fourth down multiple times. I liked the situations where he did that, and they finally used the quarterback sneak on less than a yard with with Carson Wentz. So I think Doug was doing okay with all of that, but you can't, like I said, you can't dial it down, and then when you need to, because now you're behind, dial it back up. It usually doesn't work, and it didn't yesterday.
All right, staying with the offense, I want to look at the backfield with you. Wendell, Smallwood, you gave him a B. Corey Clement, you gave him a C. Not much production at all from either of them. Talk about your grades you gave them and what you saw out of the two of them.
Yeah, I think, and the question is, it's sort of like a chicken or egg question here. What do you do? Is it because Doug's not calling enough run plays? Or is it because he's not calling the run plays because he knows he doesn't have the guys that are going to be able to produce all that much? Now, Wendell Smallwood had two long plays called back, and that's unfortunate by some holding calls that I don't think were necessary to have sprung him in both situations. So are they running the ball okay? They're doing okay. They're just lacking that guy that they went out and got last year with Ajayi. They had LeGarrette Blount, but he had started to wear down a little bit, and Ajayi gave them that spark. And I really think, Corey Clement a couple of weeks ago said he told Howie, we're fine with what we got in the backfield. I don't necessarily know that that's the case. I'm not advocating going and selling off the farm to get Le'Veon Bell, but after a loss like that yesterday, I got to believe Howie's sitting there today thinking we got to do something to shake up something with this team. I don't know what position it's at or what move they got to make, but that's why he's paid that money and I'm not. And these backs right now are just not producing enough. They need Darren Sproles back. Would certainly help a little bit too, more of a threat out of the backfield. I don't think these defenses on the other side of the ball are truly afraid of any of the backs that the Eagles have.
Let me ask you, though. Okay, so you mentioned that Carson Wentz. Let me get into him because 30 for 37, he has a great game. His accuracy was on point. He made some big throws, made some great decisions. He missed some decisions late in the game. Why did they stall at 17? Like, when you're watching, is it just simply the play calling? Is it because they didn't because they're lacking something? You know what I'm saying? Like, when they get to 17, it looks like, oh, maybe they do have enough. Carolina wasn't stopping you. They looked overmatched, quite frankly. And then you just hit the brakes. What happens?
I think it was the play calling. They got to 17 at the end of the third quarter. And then they go into the fourth quarter. And like I said, I think both coaches, Schwartz and Peterson, felt we have a 17-point lead going into the fourth quarter. The clock is our friend. Let's just make it our friend. And the play calling totally changed on both sides. And I think so offensively, I agree with you. I thought Carson was as accurate as I've potentially ever seen him. He was making throws that were through the smallest of margins or in the places only his guys could catch on the sideline, and they were making great catches to keep both feet in bounds. It's a why change that? Again, why go away from that? Because, again, Carson was on, then he dialed it down because that's what the play calling dictated, and he had to try to bring it back up, and I think he pressed. He missed Wendell Smallwood on that last drive, wide open on 3rd and 2 up at the top of the screen. I know everybody saw it except Carson, or if Carson did, Carson was trying to make the big play and win the game then. And I just think you got to stay with what this offense is, and this offense is not a big play threat. They got the big break with the pass interference, and you just got to keep going with the chains down the field until even there. Take the first down that you got. You get 4 more plays then to put it in the end zone, and he didn't do that. It was one in my opinion, one of the few negatives for Carson Wentz that day. I thought it was spot on, but to answer your question, I think the play calling dictated what happened and why they stalled out at 17 points.
What happened was Mills on the Smith play. Did Mills lose his footing? Did he fall or something there?
Yeah, to me, that's what it looked like. I think he's one of those guys who plays the Schwartz mentality, which I think is why Schwartz likes him. He's not afraid to over pursue or overcompensate. He saw Torrey Smith with the ball. He went up and took a harsh angle at him. And then I think as he tried to plant, his foot kind of went out a little bit, and there was the missed tackle. And like I said, that kind of defense in that position does not have a guy who's second ready to close in on the sideline out there. They line up 5 across or something like that, even with the first down marker, and try to take a spot. And then there's nobody on that sideline who can fill in if a tackle's missed. And that's what happened. And, it's just not been Mills' year. He's certainly had some good plays, and he's certainly been part of some memorable bad ones. And that was one that burned him in a big way for sure.
All right, check out the full Grayson's grades at 973ESPN.com. We just tweeted the link out for Grayson's grades. You can also check out Scott's video from inside the locker room with key players from yesterday, Zach Ertz, Malcolm Jenkins, and others, to hear and kind of see how that loss affected them yesterday. And I know you can catch all of that at 973ESPN.com. And London this week?
Yeah, got the passport ready. We'll see what happens. Should be interesting for sure. I'll definitely fill you in on the experience.
All right, great. Scott will be in London covering the Eagles and Jags for us at 973ESPN.com. Thanks, pal.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.